Welcome back, everybody. Today we're discussing Loki Season 2, Episode 2, titled Breaking Brad. This episode can be divided into 4 individual sections as it is pretty straightforward. There is blindsiding Brad, breaking Brad, syncing with Sylvia, and the gang does timeline genocide. The episode begins with them searching for X5, now going by Brad or Zaniac as the movie poster claims. This was a somewhat obscure Marvel character that is described as a demonic parasite which causes the host to have an overwhelming desire to hurt women. The inclusion of demonic figures, if that is what's happening here or not, may be a nod to the showrunners about theories from the demonic Kingpin Mephisto. So if we start seeing more demonic presence, maybe we invest some stock into those theories again, but otherwise I say we let that dog lie.
That stays in the vault, you!
Brad Wolf is confronted, he makes a run for it, and after a little tech magic and a little Loki magic, big bad Brad is captured. Though we know this entire thing was a trap set up by Renslayer, and the timelines in which he would be this person would have been wiped off the face of the multiverse. Something I want to point out during the chase here is the graffiti. We see less is more, less is enough among the other standard tags. It really feels like some weird 1984 thought police officer was just doing a little bit extra and needed to spread the propaganda in a much more digestible way for the youth. You know, it just feels like these are really weird to be here, right? After the title card rolls, we see X5 being detained and Loki, Mobius, and X15 talking about the best next steps. Mobius and Loki take X5's altered temp pad to OB, while X15 talks to Casey. OB gives them the manual that he wrote, further enforcing his and the manual's importance as a reoccurring theme, and tells them, hey, get to work. Casey and X15 briefly discuss the not-so-secret plot to trace down Judge Renslayer and how difficult that is now that Miss Minutes has vanished and all the timelines are increasing just the number of places that they need to search. Loki and Mobius fumble to be IT people, and Casey drops the bomb that Miss Minutes and Judge Renslayer are working together. We are also reminded of the information that we learned in episode 1, that Judge Renslayer and He Who Remains have some kind of past. At some point, they were much closer than we were previously led to believe.
Professor Renslayer, you are quite a marvel. I will be proud to lead with you.
Casey steps up and starts analyzing the temp pad, and we journey into the second section, Breaking Brad. They quickly lay out the plan for interrogation and step into the Terradome with the man of the hour. Brad is combative and overall wins the first bout between them. He attacks Loki on a personal level, bringing up his mama and justifying, honestly, the use of extreme force later on because of that. But again, he just embarrasses Loki in this first session. He calls his bluff and starts spreading the idea that the TVA is not real, which is interesting. It may not be. Illusionary magic is a powerful thing, and really we're dealing with the concept of time, and the TVA is just somehow outside of it. We're suspending disbelief that it's possible to do so because it sounds like perfect sci-fi endgame Marvel stuff. But really, it could be made up. It could be an illusion. It could just be another measure of control, and whomever is pulling the strings is even more hidden than they were in season 1. He also talks about everybody being from their own timeline and leaning into this to gain sympathy because he knows that they cared about that. It's hard to tell if he's being genuine here and a dozen other moments this episode because he's doing what he's supposed to do. He's acting. And the entire plan was, of course, set up by Renslayer. Right now, I'm just reading these moments as trying to gain sympathy, but the discussions about none of this being real are something that I keep coming back to and thinking about. Mobius being told to wake up during this scene is just, I don't know. It feels like there's something there.
Here, man. I mean, you need to wake up.
I'm awake.
God, no, you're asleep. You need to wake up, Moby. And until you wake up, you're just a nowhere man. You're a nowhere man.
So the first session ends with little gained, but Mobius storms off and they arrive at the Automat.
I was following you. Mobius, you were clearly ahead of me.
In a weird twist, it's all key lime pie, which is not as good as chocolate pie, which is the best pie. And it made me think about the thread that I saw on Reddit about after episode 1, about the secret of the memory wiping being this key lime pie. And of course, this episode comes to a room and it's all key lime pie. The entire scene, I was just waiting for that shoe to drop and it never did. So I'm still kind of thinking that it's my theory about the mind wiping or memory erasing, altering happening when they are sleeping. They enjoy a nice pie date, look into each other's eyes, and share vulnerable stories about being men and letting their anger get the best of them. Mobius has some weird Stockholm Syndrome dialogue about thanking the guy that kidnapped him and enslaved him to a life of servitude to a master he doesn't even know, which could be hinting that maybe a variant of Mobius has something to do with what's going on here, but I'm not sure. His concerns are valid, I suppose. If his life was better outside and he knew about it, then it would eat him up every day, just knowing that. If his life was worse, it would be the best thing that he could hope for. It also makes me think that some kind of Westworld stuff is happening. Maybe this has happened before or happens from time to time, and the big bad has to reset all of the hosts to make them forget what they've seen. It would align with what we've kind of been shown already, with what we know is possible. Mobius forgetting about OB sometime in the last 400 years. That's one of them. But what other major or minor events have been erased? Mobius here is the caveman in Plato's cave. He is seeing the shadows on the walls, and despite knowing a bigger, scarier world exists outside of the cave, he is perfectly content with the life that he lives. It's atypical, to say the least, but it's not necessarily wrong. We then come to Ouroboros being locked out of the system for invalid temporal aura, and we enter attempt number 2 for breaking Brad. The temporal aura we first learned about in episode 1.
What's that? Your temporal aura. What's that?
And I really kind of view this as a multiversal social security number or a digital hash signature that there can only be one of these beings. This comes in handy when like every version of me would have the same social security number here on Earth. They set this up in season 1, but it didn't really lead to anything. So I think that now they're saying that this is important because it will be used to delineate between similar beings. In this scenario, it's being used by He Who Remains to say no other Kangs, no other conquerors can come in here and say that they are him. But imagine 2 Lokis that are identical in the exact same way. Both of them saying that they're a real friend of yours, maybe even both of them wholeheartedly believing that. But a temp scan shows which has been with you this entire time and which one is just mistaken or maliciously trying to trick you into something, right? Something that a Loki would do. The classic shoot him, no shoot him, no shoot him dilemma.
No. I focused on the temporal. I agree.
Round 2 of Loki v. Brad starts, and the boys, they got a plan. They make it seem like Mobius was locked out and Loki was a fool fiddling with dangerous machinery. Loki plays his part well, torturing Brad for the location of Sylvie. It gets tense, and the show does a great job of reminding us that Loki is a villain before this point so that they don't accidentally, encourage torture as a valid way to get information. It does work in this instance, though. Or maybe it doesn't. Casey and OB get some screen time together and let us know that they have to make Miss Minutes, a rogue AI that is working with Renslayer, bypass the lock, stating that only He Who Remains can open or reopen the containment doors.
You have to convince a rogue artificial intelligence to come back to work?
We then come to section 3, romancing the McDonald's Sylvie. It's going well. She's living her best life, perfectly resigned to normality after a life of running. She sees trouble, and instead of running now, she talks with her other self over a quick smoke break. They discuss what happened and briefly about what's happening now. He wants her to come back to help them, but she wants to continue living the dream. He brings up seeing the future, and she just states, hey, that's impossible because I killed that guy. Even though he said, as soon as you kill me, there's going to be a lot more like me. We're going to ignore that for now because I killed that guy. It's still early, and they haven't really given us enough information to kind of deduce why, we got that little flash forward. But I think we have to consider his visions in episode 1, something that is undoubtedly going to happen. I think we're going to see the perspective of the person who is purging Loki, and maybe that is some kind of like Groundhog's Day loop that they just can't escape from, or It's just something that has to happen, right? Inception, I don't know, say other big words here. Again, way too many options could explain this, but present day Loki needs help, and he's begging Sylvie for it. Mobius and Brad talk, and Brad is a little eager beaver. He keeps wanting to return to the TVA, not trying to escape, and the change in motivation was noted by Mobius.
You're like a broken record. It's like, get me back to the sacred timeline. It's like, although now it's just get me out of here, which is this a setup?
They confront Brad about what's happening, and Sylvie reads his mind. Renslayer is bombing the branched timelines, and they need to go back before everything gets destroyed, including themselves. They make it back, and it's revealed that the plot is already happening. Renslayer is murdering countless timelines, an infinite and unimaginable amount of people, because they believe their timeline is the right one, the sacred one.
Our mission is compromised. Set up what you can.
Loki, Mobius, and Sylvie attack and quickly dispatch and apprehend Renslayer and the remaining foot soldiers. Back at the TVA, we have this little moment.
Those are people. Those are lives.
And I'll be honest, I just didn't care. I think the showrunners were hoping that we would. Maybe I'm alone here, but I really wasn't invested emotionally. I get it. They are people and countless lives, but the emotion just really wasn't built up to this point. And we've already seen dozens of more theoretical timelines obliterated from this point. And also what we're dealing with is a single universe is an unimaginable amount of people. And so even a single timeline being destroyed should have just as much impact as all of these other timelines being destroyed. I just felt like they should have saved this moment for later on, or made us feel connected to a timeline that was pruned, if they wanted that stronger reaction. It just felt like this was supposed to be a little bit more emotional, and it kind of dropped the ball. I don't know what the analogy is. They get a hit on Renslayer's temp pad, and Sylvie storms off. Before we move on, something really strange that stood out to me during the final scene of the sequence was this. Everybody is just standing still except for Loki and Mobius. I don't know if this is hinting that none of this is real, like Brad talked about before, or if the director just said, hey, everybody look like you're contemplating loss, and they just froze. It just felt really odd. So I wanted to point this out in case this was meaningful at all. Sylvie has a brief moment with the kid working at McDonald's, and we see her considering what to do while fiddling with the disc that she got from He Who Remains. It seems like maybe Sylvie is enjoying this timeline, and maybe that's what I was talking about before. They're going to make us care about this, and they're going to make us care about this timeline because it's the timeline Sylvie cares about. So when this is lost, it'll have a lot more meaning. That's just my guess. But ultimately, she wants to see it thrive, giving her a reason to continue the fight. Because at the end of the day, it's about more than her. It's about McDonald's. It's about buying McDonald's right now. Everybody stop watching this video and open the McDonald's app, or if you're in some kind of lesser evolved part of the world, open the Mackey's app and order a 12-count Mackey nugget with sweet and spicy jam. It's an all right limited time flavor, but honestly, it's about supporting McDonald's. So please go out and do that. If you had any other thought about what to do in this moment, I hope that you know what my true intentions are and what we should all be doing right now. Consume. Thank you everybody for watching. Please be sure to comment, and subscribe like it's 2016. If you have any other theories, please leave them down in the comments below. If you want to provide feedback, please make sure that it's constructive, because my temporal aura is sensitive as fuck. Special thank you to everybody that supports my content, including Michael Link over on Patreon, and the trained monkeys that I currently have in my room poking me with sticks if I ever get up from my chair. Your support means everything to me. Much love, everybody, and I cannot wait to talk to you all again soon.